Hey, I want to jump in real quick. Somebody asked me the other day, what does the Corley Company do? Well, we do three things for nonprofits. One, we facilitate meetings, yes, like board retreats where we discuss governance and strategy with all the members of the board. Number two, advise CEOs and help them as they make decisions and implement actions to drive their mission. And then finally, we produce podcasts such as this one, but also for a number of nonprofits to help you get the word out, get your message out. So if you're interested in any of these services, please feel free to reach out to Michael at thecorleycompany.com. Now back to the podcast. On this week's episode of I-501CU, the podcast for nonprofit board members. Well, I guess first I should say, great to be back. We've taken a little bit of time off. It wasn't by our choice. A few things called hurricanes, and we've had a heck of a time down here in Florida. And we had a number of guests lined up during those 2 to 3 weeks. And of course, being the leaders of the organizations, they had to postpone their interviews to deal with the fallout from Hurricanes Helene and Milton. And it's been a wild time down here for sure. So we didn't have a chance to line up another guest this week. So I'm going to riff on a few things and a few observations over the past few weeks that hopefully will benefit you leaders and you board members as you're working with your organizational leaders. I'm reminded in times like this, with all the chaos and all the disarray, how important it is to have strategic priorities defined. Direction for your organization. We've worked with a couple boards over the last month to identify their strategic priorities. And what this allows the executives to do is to, when fallout happens from things like a storm, keep directionally focused on this is what we need to do as an organization. To avoid mission creep, because we all know what happens when something happens. We all have our empathy gene, big empathy gene, and we want to help more people and do more things through our organizations. But the reality is, if you start spreading yourself too thin, you're not going to make a positive impact on anybody. Really important to have your strategic priorities defined, understood, aligned, so that as you move forward, you will operate within the playing field that you all decided on at calmer times. This is the board and the staff, of course. So to avoid that mission creep, it really makes a difference when something unexpected like a disaster hits. It will allow you to be disciplined in your decision making. Now, let me talk a little bit about when unexpected things happen. And for us, it's been the hurricanes and what the leaders, you leaders, should be hopefully doing. And I get fortunate, I see a lot of it, and I'm very proud of the organizations we work with. Number one, a leader should be visible in times like this. Your staff, your benefactors, they want to see you as a person, because you represent the title, the leadership of the organization. Really important to be visible, number one. Number two, to listen. Listen to your staff, listen to your beneficiaries, your clients, your donors. Listen, everybody is going through this turmoil at a different pace. We talked about cope, adapt, innovate on the last podcast that we released. And everybody's going through a different phase, but you as the leader should be listening and just asking questions, and then just listen. So you want to have that empathy gene. You heard me use that term earlier. I stole that from a mentor of mine. And that empathy gene, to just listen as the leader to how people are doing, how you can you can provide benefit to them, etc. It's also important as a leader that you go into decision-making mode and you make important decisions and you don't waffle or waver. Yes, you're listening. Yes, you're absorbing information and data, but you need to make those decisions. They're going to focus on the strategic priorities, and maybe even more important, or I should say, no, more importantly, on your team members, your staff. Make those decisions which welcome them, and they understand that you are looking out for them and that you're helping them get back to where they need to be so that they can help your clients, of course. And then you've got times that you want to take action. That's kind of like decision making. But there are other times where no action's the appropriate route to go. You don't want to come out of a hurricane when people are in disarray and say, hey, we're charging forward with this strategic priority come heck or high water. Sometimes you need to slow down, pause, guide, and drive the organization from behind to allow people just to evolve and get through this situation that we're going through right now. But I would say the number one thing out of all those is you really need to be visible and communicative in terms of whether it's visible, like on for those of you watching the video right now, or those listening, whether it's audio, whether it's email, but a regular visibility with the staff, with the beneficiaries, with your donors, with your volunteers, etc. So there you go. Just some thoughts as we're, I should say, evolving, emerging out of the last two hurricanes and trying to get things on solid footing. And I just want to commend to all the people, and certainly in the Sarasota, Manatee County area. I tell you what, the response has been absolutely fantastic. It's been a joy, a pure joy to watch our communities come together, all the way from my little subdivision to the subdivisions next to us to the entire communities. It's really been something special. And I know that it goes all along the west coast of Florida because we talk to people all up and down the west coast. And God bless the folks in North Carolina. So there you go. Hopefully we'll be back to our regular schedule next week. We've got a guest lined up. Hopefully that's going to happen, the interview this week. And we will I-501 see you next week.